Money here on Good Morning Quad Cities. Last September, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law, Assembly Bill 1228, which raised the minimum wage for fast food workers in that state to $20 an hour. The law went into effect last month, but the new law isn't without controversy, of course. Though advocates argue it provides many fast food workers a more livable wage, opponents say it could actually drive consumer prices even higher. To talk more about this, we have financial advisor Mark Gravicheski joining us live. Good morning, Mark.
Morning to you, David. Happy Monday. Great to see you again, as always.
You as well. Happy Monday. So what can you tell us about the specifics of this new minimum wage law in California?
Yeah, California's new minimum wage law, David, really targets those national fast food chain restaurants. Now, California already has one of the highest minimum wages in the nation, but this new wage law creates a distinct minimum wage for the fast food industry of $20 an hour, compared to $16 an hour for all other workers and businesses in the state. Now, by comparison, Iowa's minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, which does match the federal minimum wage. Illinois also has one of the higher minimum wages in the nation at $14 an hour. But look, on the east side of the state in Chicago, the minimum wage can quickly rise to either $15 or $15.80 an hour, depending on the number of workers.
So what are some of the major arguments that are being made both for and against this new minimum wage law?
Yeah, obviously, supporters of this new law, David, argues that it does provide these fast food workers a higher standard of living, especially in California, which we all know by far and away is one of the most expensive states to live in. But opponents of this bill cite a few main challenges. First, this new minimum wage law almost exclusively targets the national fast food chains. However, most of your high-end fine dining restaurants in the state are surprisingly excluded from this new wage law. Second, these higher labor costs are forcing these fast food restaurants to raise their prices even higher. And we've all seen these reports in certain cities, certain parts of the countries where the cost of a single meal for someone at a fast food restaurant is quickly approaching $20 and is pricing out low-income households and even many middle-class households who simply can't afford to go to these restaurants anymore. And finally, we are starting to see reports throughout areas of California of many of these restaurants simply being forced to close their doors because they can't absorb these rising costs anymore.
Right, and I do want to bring this a little bit more local too, because we talked about the cost of living there being so high, and the U.S. World Report has a report out today that says most affordable places to live in the U.S., the Quad Cities is number 9. So that's great news for us here, but I also want to talk a little bit about employers using the technology. How are they addressing the rising cost of labor?
Yeah, not just in the fast food industry, David, but really across industries throughout the U.S. and global economy. Over the past few years, we've seen technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics increasingly being used by various industries to reduce the impact of these rising labor costs we've seen over the past few years. Look at Amazon, for example, David. Amazon, David, currently uses 750,000 robots within their network of warehouses, and they're looking to ramp up that automation even more. For fast food restaurants, these wage pressures have quickened the pace of automation within that industry. We're already starting to see more and more self-ordering kiosks. But experts say this automation will soon extend to food preparation, packaging, even delivery. So literally from the moment you place your order until the moment that food is delivered to you, the entire process is expected to be 100% robotics and automation.
Wow, very interesting there. We'll have to wait and see. All right, it's now 6:20. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us. We'll see you again next Monday.